Guys, and welcome back. If you are new around here, I cover mostly Australian cases, but today we are trying something a little bit different, if you couldn't tell. Sometimes I just need a bit of a break from covering my usual content, and I thought that this would be a nice light-hearted break from that. So let me know your thoughts below after you've watched. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Either way, I want to know. And while I have your attention, don't forget to follow me on my socials. I'm on both Twitter and Instagram. I'll have my handle on the screen, or you can just look up Samantha Melanie on either platform. And now we have that out the way, let's dive into the darker and stranger side of Disney. And of course, because this video is just for fun, take everything I say with a grain of salt. These are a mix of facts and theories. Regardless, I'll have all my resources listed down below. And I'm kind of feeling like the ears are a little bit much for the video, so gonna remove those. I think this first theory or rumour is one that we've all heard before. No one dies at Disney. So is this a fact or fiction? Well, it's kind of similar to my day job as a flight attendant. People can and do die on planes, but as your wonderful cabin crew are not actually qualified doctors, we cannot technically pronounce someone dead, no matter how sure we are that they've passed away. So it's kind of the same policy at Disney. Although people can and do die at the Magic Kingdom, any injured or deceased people are quickly whisked away by staff off of the Disney premises and to a hospital where they can be officially pronounced dead by a doctor. So although no one officially dies at Disney, people definitely do die there. And in fact, there have been a number of recorded deaths at Disneyland, unofficially. So let's go over just a few of these. Back in 1964, a teenage boy stood up on the Matterhorn bobsleds, causing him to be thrown off the ride and be pronounced dead several days later in hospital. In 1973, an 18-year-old boy drowned on Tom Sawyer Island after hiding on the attraction until closing time, and when he attempted to swim out to leave, he drowned. In 1992, a man took his own life in front of the Epcot Center at Disney World. And in 1999, and this one is hard to confirm as true, but it's said that someone hung themselves inside the It's a Small World ride. So witnesses there on the day claim the ride came to a sudden halt, and they were quickly ushered out by Disney staff through the emergency exits, but not before catching a glimpse of what appeared to be a hanging body. Police and ambulance were waiting outside of the ride when guests arrived, but nothing was ever officially explained or confirmed by Disney. And there is actually a film photograph in existence, allegedly taken by someone that was ushered out of the It's a Small World ride that day, that appears to show a hanging body from the ceiling of the ride. I won't include the image in this video, but I'll link down below where you can view it. It's not very clear, so you can come to your own conclusion on that one. And the most recent reported occurrence in 2003, a 22-year-old male was killed on Big Thunderbird Mountain Railroad when the car became separated from the train. There is too many more to mention, but this does go to show that people do indeed die at Disney. So you may or may not have heard of it. Club 33. It's a private club located in New Orleans Square in 3 of the Disney parks. The existence of Club 33 is fairly well known by the public these days, But it wasn't always that way. Club 33 was once a Disney secret that was kept pretty well hidden from the public. And it's said that to be a member, you must pay an annual fee of a whopping $11,000. Not to mention the initial fee of a mere $25,000, which by the way is non-transferable between each Disney resort. So what fabulous perks do you get as a member of the elusive Club 33? Well, you'll have access to the Club 33 restaurant, as well as access to a jazz club called, a name I can't pronounce, Le Salon Nouveau. Let's go with that. And access to Lounge 1901. And none of these aforementioned places are accessible to commoners or peasants like ourselves. They also get early park access, valet parking, and invites to private Disney events. As of 2011, there was a 14-year waiting list, and the waiting list was actually closed for 5 years before this too, before being reopened in 2012. So if you're interested, I suggest you put your name down now, like right now. And speaking of secret rooms, well, you know the Matterhorn ride? It turns out that there is a secret room inside the very top of the Matterhorn, and it's kind of random, honestly. It's a basketball court. Mind you, it is a very small basketball court. There isn't too much mystery behind this room though. The top portion of the Matterhorn ride was initially empty and unused as the ride's bobsled didn't travel that far up. So at the suggestion of Disney employees, they built a little baby basketball court as demonstrated on the map that should be on the screen for you now. This is of course a staff-only basketball court, sadly for us. So if there is any Disney conspiracy or rumour that has done the rounds over the years and is widely believed, it's that Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen after his death and resides somewhere on the Disneyland premise. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride or Under the Castle being the most common places it's thought his frozen body is kept. And to be honest with you, this is something that I believed my whole life too, until I started doing a little bit of research on Disney for this video. But as it turns out, the truth is far less interesting. In late December of 1966, Walt passed away from lung cancer and was cremated shortly afterwards. And no, his ashes were not scattered on the Disneyland premise. Another popular theory. The Walt is frozen rumour likely came from an interview conducted in 1972 where Bob Nelson of the Cryonic Society of California stated that Walt had wanted to be frozen but he had not been. He had never signed any papers giving permission to be frozen after his death, and his family never approved of the idea. The "had not been frozen" comment must have slipped through the cracks, maybe by those trying to create a more interesting story regarding Walt's passing, and thus the rumour was born. Somewhat interestingly though, just 2 weeks after Walt died, the very first man ever was cryogenically frozen. And his ashes, if you are wondering, are located at the famous Forest Lawns Cemetery in Glendale, California. The next theories revolve around the famous Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which is of course where the movie franchise got its idea from, I guess. The Pirates ride, which was actually the last ride that Walt oversaw before his death, is a water ride that allows you to sit in a boat and calmly float through the treacherous waters of a cave filled with mechanical pirates and skeleton pirates having a party. But did you know that when the ride opened in 1967, the skeletons used on the ride were actual human remains? Or so the rumour goes. It's said that to make the props on the ride appear more authentic, the ride creators obtained actual human bones from the UCLA Medical Center. The Imagineers, as ride developers are called at Disney, Imagineer, felt that the fake skeletal props of the time appeared incredibly fake and wanted to find something slightly more authentic. And if that meant using actual human bones, so be it. Over time, the remains have been returned to their rightful owners, but it is still believed that at least one of the real skeletons remain. A skull that sits above the bed in the treasure room at the beginning of the ride is one of the most popular real skeletons mentioned. You guys will have to let me know if you think this one is true, because I honestly kind of hope it is. So next we're going to talk about the fact that Disneyland is the owner of 200 cats on the property. It actually has 200 cats living there, roughly, roaming the grounds all day and night. And the reason as to why goes all the way back to, it's believed, sometime in the 1950s. When Walt Disney was in the famous Disney Castle planning the walkthrough attraction, he noticed a bunch of feral cats had taken up a residence inside. And with feral cats came fleas. Fleas at Disneyland was definitely not on brand. So Walt dealt with the problem. He adopted out as many of the cats as he could to cast members, people who work at Disney, and dealt with the flea problem as well. However, this didn't entirely deal with the cat problem. They couldn't all be adopted out, and many of the cats on the property didn't live in the castle. They simply roamed around the grounds by day and hunted there during the night. This was pretty typical cat behaviour after all. They roam around and hunt mice. Yes, there were cats killing mice at the world's largest mousetrap, Disneyland. The irony apparently did not escape employees at the time. So it didn't take long for some genius at Disney to realise that maybe keeping around a few harmless cats to keep any rodent issues at bay wasn't a bad idea at all. So it was decided the feral cats would be allowed to stay and they would be looked after, all the while they kept the rodent problem at bay, which they did. Feeding stations were set up for them around the Disney property, and the cats were all captured, spayed and neutered over time to stop the population from growing. Disneyland even has a specific cast member allocated to keeping the cats' feeding stations full and giving them medical attention when needed. But like many cats, they hide during the day and do most of their hunting at night. So unless you're lucky, you may never see one of Disneyland's famous mouse-killing cats. And just a side note, Disney actually discourages their guests from approaching the cats and will adopt any cats out that appear scared of humans, or any litters that happen to be born on the property. And if you want to learn more about the cats of Disneyland or even read up on their individual profiles, well, good news, there is a whole website dedicated to them. DisneylandCats.com, and there is also an Instagram at Disneyland Cats if you are interested. I have no idea if this website is affiliated with Disney, but it is a bit of fun nonetheless. Now let's move on to a few facts about the cast members HQ and the little illusions of Disneyland that you may have never noticed. So Disneyland is built 16 feet above ground, sitting below a complex system of utility tunnels created for cast members that connect all areas of Disneyland together. In fact, Disney has some of the biggest utility tunnel systems in the world. The cast members can access those tunnels from 36 separate access points around the park, and these access points lead them to an area described as a below-ground mini-city. And in this mini-city, there is strictly no phones, no photos, and no Disney music playing. Honestly, I feel a little bit sorry for any cast member running the It's a Small World ride and hearing that darn song on repeat all day. And it takes 60,000 cast members, both above and below ground, to run the entire production. Something else that is run from underneath Disneyland is their air smellitizer, if that's how it's pronounced, invented by Imagineer Bob McCarthy. So this device basically wafts the scent of freshly baked cookies or candies, vanilla, peppermint, or whatever scent matches that location or that time of year, i.e. Christmas and gingerbread, onto the streets of Disney. So if you've ever wondered why Disney smells so good and nostalgic, like all the time, it's their bloody air smellizer wafting its wonderful scents onto the streets. It's even said that a musty scent is wafted through the Haunted Mansion, but honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Another illusion of Disney that you may have never noticed is the architectural illusions of Main Street. If you pay close attention, the shops along Main Street get progressively smaller and smaller as you walk along. And it's so that Cinderella's castle looks further away, when in reality it is not that far at all. And speaking of Cinderella's castle, take a closer look at the castle's bricks next time you're there. The bricks that make up the castle actually get smaller and smaller the further up you go. It gives the illusion of height, apparently. And have you ever noticed how, well, clean Disneyland is? Yeah, they do have an army of cleaning staff, but there is also never a greater distance between 2 bins than 27 steps. It means people are actually more likely to place their rubbish in a bin as opposed to just chucking it on the ground. Walt Disney thought of everything. Along with nostalgic smells and architectural illusions, colour theory is also used to cover up anything Disney doesn't want you to notice. Anything painted a dull shade of grey or green is said to go unnoticed by guests, and this is exactly Disney's intention. The colours even have names, which are apparently Go Away Green and No Seam Grey. The two dull colours are used to conceal walls, fences, utility buildings, and Club 33, the secret club I mentioned earlier in the video. Another random although interesting fact, in my opinion, is that the grounds of Disneyland are a no-fly zone. No one can fly over or within a 3-mile radius of the park's grounds. It's said that this is mostly done for the park's safety, but it also prevents noise, banner ads, etc. from ruining the magic of Disney. As you can probably see at this point, everything that makes the Magic Kingdom magic is structured, thought of, purposely put in place, and often an illusion. A well-oiled machine run by many people. And this next not so fun fact has to do with sharing underwear. So before 2001, cast members who wore costumes wore special Disney underwear issued to them at the beginning of each shift that was designed to not bunch under their costumes. However, when they returned their costume and underwear at the end of each shift to be washed and laundered, well, it seemed as though it wasn't exactly being cleaned properly, if at all. Yes, Disney's cast members once had to share their underwear. Cast members eventually began reporting issues such as scabies and pubic lice, before the Teamsters Union finally negotiated that each cast member be issued their own pair of underwear to keep and take home and wash on their own terms. Thank God. I wish I was kidding on this one, but sadly I am not. And to tie into the last interesting fact is another fun fact about undergarments. Did you know that Disneyland once had a lingerie store on Main Street? It opened back in 1955 when Disneyland first opened, and the storefront read intimate apparel, brasseries, torselettes, and I have no idea what a torselette is, and was run by the Hollywood Maxwell Brasserie Company of Los Angeles. And as you entered the store, you were greeted by the Wizard of Bras, who was a robot that would tell guests all about the history of lingerie. The store even had little 3D boxes that you could peep into that would show images of women's fashions from the Victorian period before making the fashions disappear off the women's bodies to reveal their Victorian era undergarments. Quite the Disney scandal. Sadly, the following year the store closed. And that concludes this video on facts, theories and conspiracies all relating to the world of Disney. What were your thoughts on this video? Would you like to see another video like this on another topic, or maybe you would prefer I never do this type of content again? Either way, let me know down below. And let me know down below, have you been to Disneyland? I would be very interested to know. I've been twice myself and I plan to go many more times, but Australia is quite far from the closest Disney. Anyway, like, comment, share, subscribe if you found this to be a fun, interesting video. Thank you to my wonderful channel members. Your names will be somewhere on the screen. Until next time, stay vigilant and stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.